Hello. Welcome to the You Are Limitless podcast. I'm your host, Madam Chiko, coming to you from the holistic wellness space, as well as many other spaces at this point, as not only a transformational life coach, but as the I am that stays grounded and connected on her path and on her journey, and here to share a little bit about that with you guys. So it's always a pleasure being here, and I know that it has been a minute since an episode has been released, but I try to focus on doing what feels aligned and recognizing when things don't feel right. And so I haven't really felt called to releasing another episode in a long while, and this is just all part of my journey in terms of the growth and the healing and the evolving and the breaking down some of those limiting beliefs that are a little bit sneaky and tricky and don't really realize they're there until you realize that they're there and you're literally living in it. And it's a beautiful journey. There's no such thing as perfection in terms of having to show up 100% of the time, but the more that we align to what is true for us, and I'll get to that in a little bit in terms of what that means, but the more that we align to what is true for us, the easier it becomes to be able to see where maybe old habits can die hard. Maybe certain beliefs that we had about ourselves and our environment and the people around us can be let go. And that's part of what I was going to talk about is in terms of judgment. I talk about judgment all the time because I think it's so pervasive in our society. We want to try and make sense out of our world. And one of those ways that we do that is through the idea of judgment. And personally, I just don't think that judgment is useful, is helpful. It's a waste of energetic space. It's a waste of space in general. And it doesn't give anything an opportunity to flourish in their own right. And it also doesn't give you the opportunity to be able to expand and see things from a different perspective. Part of what I've been experiencing is the dying of old friendships and the shedding of old stories that I grew up with. And if you go back to previous episodes on here, I talk a little bit more about my story in terms of like the trauma that I dealt with, the drug abuse, the whole 9 yards. And there are really good episodes on that. I think episode number 3 is a really powerful episode. If you guys want to tap into that, that is my story. But I've also started to move away from the story because stories are great, but we don't have to continue what I call the continuity of our life. Meaning, the ego in particular wants to latch on to anything that it feels it can grasp at in terms of having an identity. And when we realize that we don't need all these external things to identify us, we don't need a story, we don't need the history, we just am from source energy that I am, then the story becomes less relevant. But it's a useful tool so you guys can understand where people come from. And it's really cool. It has helped me in ways of being able to connect with people who have dealt with such adverse experiences, whether it's like in childhood or even in adulthood, because we all know shit gets crazy in adulthood, but also in terms of like their professional careers or entrepreneurship or what have you. It's really cool whenever we can find really powerful stories that can show us that, hey, we can do it too, because there's nothing different about me or about the next person or someone that you may admire. They're not different from you. It's really about the beliefs and the choices and the judgments that are different that can create that reality. And I love to say this. Reality is so moldable. We can do so many things with it. We can break it down. We can build it up. We can continue our cycles, or we can break it. And, now's a great time to do that because it's the beginning of the year. But also, I'm going to be checking in with you guys to make sure that you're staying true to your intentions this year, to yourself, really, and holding that integrity. It has nothing to do with anybody else, but you will find that when you hold self-integrity within yourself, everything else just kind of falls into place, right? You're not about to create havoc in another person's world or in the environment or in a system, unless there needs to be havoc, but not in a way that one would assume havoc is. But when we hold ourselves to that integrity, no matter what, you will find that everything else just kind of falls into place. And we as a society, we have a habit of working backwards where we want to fix everything out there. But in reality, what if it requires us to go inward? What if it requires a little bit of shadow work? What if it requires us to sit in silence? What if it requires us to eat better? What if it requires us to, maybe move our bodies a little bit more, pray, meditate? I mean, when we start to fix the internal state, out there will show that. And, a few months ago, I just and this is part of why I've taken a break, and this is going to be a really short episode, but this is why I've taken a break from the podcast, because I had to figure out what it meant to let the old self die in a way that was painful. So I understood where there may still be disempowering stories that were coming up. So, we're on a whole different trajectory. It's just been such an incredible journey, and I'm going to talk more about a whole array of things. We're going to bring more people on, of course, but the goal is to be able to use these tools, these platforms, in order for you to ignite that spark within yourself, because it has nothing to do with anyone else. It's not going to be from another guru, a teacher, nothing. It's going to be from within, but we can utilize our sources the way that we should be utilizing, in my opinion, social media, to be able to elevate ourselves, to spark creativity. So I will be back. I have a meeting that I have to attend to, but I will come back so we can finish this conversation. Again, this is just part of what I do for my alignment, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm going to start taking snippets out of my audio journals to be able to share with you guys. I've done this before, and I realize how powerful of an impact it is, because it's all happening in the moment where I'm not really planning on speaking. But some of the things that come through are just so profound. I'm like, whoa, getting hit with the Holy Ghost type of energy, right? So definitely planning on sharing more of that. But one thing I realized on my journey is we don't have to do so much talking. We don't have to do so much mental noise in order to get back into alignment. And, I thought I had the mental aspect of life on lock. Meditating every day. We don't stop meditating every day, working out every day, if not almost every day. But the thing that was missing was this organic way of living. And there's no right or wrong way to live. I like to see things as aligned and misaligned. And that's also what I want to bring to this podcast, is some of my practices that I do on a daily to help get my energy back into sync, to help elevate, to help my body regulate itself, to digest itself, to have the hormones all regulated. And that's what I also want to be able to share with you guys, so that you can try it out. And if it resonates with you, wonderful. If it doesn't, you'll find something that will. And I love saying that, but it's so true. You will find something that resonates with you. This is your journey. And showing up as your most authentic self is the most beautiful thing you can do. That can be scary sometimes if you don't even know what that looks like. That can be scary sometimes when you've been running these old programs, which, we talk about the programmings a lot. And it's really important that I sometimes sound repetitive, because literally repetition is the mother of all learning. And the more you hear something over and over again, or the more you tell yourself something on repeat, the more it becomes hardwired in the brain. It becomes true. Some people may think that, I'm just psyching myself out, or I'm telling you, the life that I came from and the life that I'm living now, it is astronomically different. It's hard to believe this is the same person, and technically it isn't, but it is. And I'm a walking testament that we are the creators of our reality. What we say goes. It's easy to feel like we're not in control when we're living in this 3D reality. And what I mean by that is this matrix where there's so many systems. There's, in the West, we have capitalism. There's just a lot of misalignment and disharmony. We see it on the news. We see it in all kinds of systems and structures. And it can be hard to really know who we are. But when we start to separate all of that noise through the art of silence, it's beautiful, because then you're getting to sit with some parts of yourself that needs healing, that may feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I'm telling you guys right now, it is the most rewarding thing that you can do when you let go of those limiting negative beliefs. That is why I created this podcast, because you are limitless, but our power is being funneled through all these channels that don't deserve our energy at all. But we give it our energy whenever we give in to anxiety, whenever we give in to negative voices in our heads, whenever we start to believe the negativity as if that's more of a reality than something good happening. I hear this all the time, and I've heard this with my clients before in terms of like, I don't deserve to be happy, or good things don't happen to me, or money is hard to come by. And, we'll talk more about scarcity mentality and all of these core wounds that we adopt over the years in our formative years, which is the age 1 through 7-ish. That's why we call it formative, because we're forming, and we crystallize these beliefs and these thoughts and these ways of being through our everyday life, where we're just doing things on repeat, thinking the same thoughts on repeat, not catching ourselves, not listening to our internal state, because we've been taught to be disconnected from it. And I'm telling you, when we get back into alignment, when we start to connect back into our truth, you have no other choice but to be the most authentic version of yourself. You have no other choice but to see everybody as an extension of you and have love for everybody. Doesn't mean that you will be fond of everyone, but you'll be able to see everyone as an aspect of creation and have this innate love no matter what. The kind of unconditional love that we wish we gotten in childhood for most of us, where the love wasn't predicated on us showing up, on us getting good grades, on us being perfect, on us winning trophies and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So this is going to be great. This is going to be great. And I'm so excited. And I just want to thank you guys so much for being here with me on my journey. And also, I guess I can apologize. Not that it's necessary, but I do like to stay on top of being able to post content. But I also don't want to give you guys shit content because I feel like I have to. And that's part of the things that I've been learning. It's like, if I'm going to show up for anyone, I have to show up for me first. And if I'm not showing up for me first, bet it's just not going to work for me. Now, of course, it can work the other way around, but I think it's just been so aligned for me to get back into alignment with myself first in order to be that conduit, to be of service to you. So if you enjoyed this episode and you're excited to be more authentically yourself, you're excited to exploit your limitless potential because you are limitless, and I am more than happy to hear that. Go ahead. You got to subscribe, follow, thumbs up, 5 stars on Spotify, whatever you're listening to this on, because it helps the algorithm, right? And we want more people being able to find content that's uplifting, that's going to guide them through these times that may feel tumultuous, may feel a little bit hard, but the less people we have hurting people, the better chance we have of creating a harmonious society. So like, share, subscribe, love. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of my journey. I'm just so grateful for everybody who tunes in, for everybody who's on their own path, for everyone who's wanting to heal from their past and break the continuity of their stories that no longer serve them. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next time on You Are Limitless.